Successful people act confident. Imagine that you're going to meet with an extremely wealthy person. It could be someone like businessman politician Ross Perot or computer billionaire Bill Gates or anyone whose success you admire. Just imagine yourself being introduced to them and see yourself sitting down together for a meeting and notice very carefully how this person's behaving. What kinds of things are they saying to you and to the other people around them? What's their body language like? Do they seem confident to you? Well, of course, you might be thinking, it's easy to be confident when you're a successful multimillionaire or billionaire. Being wealthy and successful makes people confident, right? In fact, it's the other way around. Confidence is one of those qualities that helps people become wealthy and successful. If you read the biography of any successful person, you'll discover that they began acting confidently before they made their money. Bill Gates showed signs of business confidence while he was still a teenager in high school. But most of us seem to lose our confidence when we most need it, and that's when we really, really want something, whether it's a job, a date, a raise, or a business deal. Instead, we may find ourselves acting really, really desperate. Now, you know how effective that is. Have you ever been approached by someone who seemed really desperate to sell you something? Didn't you feel like getting away from them as quickly as you could? Of course you did. But confidence has exactly the opposite effect. It attracts people to us. It makes them want to do business with us so that some of our success can be theirs too. And here's the best part. You don't actually have to feel confident to act confident. You just act as if you're confident. One of the best ways to do this is to act as if you have plenty of opportunities. In other words, act as if you know that opportunities are like buses. If you don't catch this one, there'll be another one along any minute. A woman I'll call Judy had been laid off from her job as vice president of an international corporation. Judy had contacted every headhunter and personnel agency in the Yellow Pages and applied for dozens of jobs advertised in the newspaper, even jobs she was far overqualified for. For months she went on interviews but received no offers. It seemed the more she tried to convince an employer that she wanted the job, the less interested they were. At her lowest point, with her savings account gone, she applied to work as a waitress but was rejected because she didn't have enough experience. That shook her up, and it woke her up. She realized that she didn't want to be a waitress, and she decided that she was not going to settle for anything less than a wonderful job. Her next interview was for a position as a clerk typist with a small startup company. During her interview with the president of the company and his assistant, she politely answered their questions about her qualifications. But when the president asked her why she wanted the job, she answered honestly, "I'm not sure that I do." She said that while the company sounded like a good one, she wasn't convinced the job was right for her. The president of the company was surprised at her answer, but he immediately said, "Well, maybe we can make it more interesting for you," and offered her a job as director of marketing. She said she'd think about it and continued to go on interviews. During the next week, after months without any opportunities, 2 other companies also offered to hire her. She ended up with an even better job than the one she'd lost. If you've ever heard the saying, "It never rains, but it pours," then you know exactly what acting confident can do for you. Confident people seem to have an abundance of opportunities, while those who seem desperate, even though they may be every bit as qualified, experience a drought. So how do you act confident? Well, first you need to remind yourself that there really are an abundance of opportunities for you. If you want to do business, realize that there are more people available to do business with you than you could possibly approach. For example, if you're involved in network marketing in North America, there are 300 million people you could be doing business with. As long as you have opportunities, someone saying no to you is only a chance to move forward to someone who will say yes. Your body language can also help you act as if you're confident. Researchers estimate that as much as 65% of our communication is done non-verbally. As a result, the messages your body communicates are more powerful than the messages your mouth communicates. So if your body is sending out a message that says, "I'm afraid," or "I'm not feeling very confident," that's the message the person you're speaking with will probably pick up, no matter what message is coming out of your mouth. Now, you probably already know that crossing your arms in front of you isn't usually a good idea, because it communicates one of 2 things. Either I disagree with you, or I'm afraid of you. But what you probably don't know is that there's a simple gesture with your hands that can make you appear incredibly confident when you're negotiating with someone. It's called steepling. To do it, you simply put your hands in front of you with the tips of your left-hand fingers touching the tips of your right-hand fingers, but keeping the palms apart. It doesn't matter how high or low you hold your hands like this. This simple gesture communicates that you feel confident. I mentioned this in a management class I was teaching for adult students at the University of Calgary. The following week, one of my students told the class he'd used this technique during a job interview he'd had earlier that day. When the employer told him how much the job paid, he'd steepled his fingers and said he wanted to be paid a much higher salary. He told us the amount he'd asked for was far more than he expected anyone to pay him, but he wanted to see just how well this body language thing worked. The class laughed and wished him well. When we got together the following week, you guessed it, he announced that he'd been offered the job at exactly the salary he'd asked for, and now wished he'd asked for a lot more. There's no doubt about it. It pays to act confidently.